Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the collective committee meeting for the Avon Lake City Council for March 16th, 2026 at 7 o'clock. I've just done the call to order. Mr. Kass.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Council President. I'd like to ask everyone up here and in the audience to please stand for a moment of silence as we reflect on our men and women serving overseas. We pray for those that are currently over there, and we mourn those that have made the ultimate sacrifice. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kass. First item on our agenda is public input. Members of the audience shall be permitted to speak only once, up to 5 minutes, on any topics that they choose pursuant to codified ordinance 2020.21B1. Anyone coming forward? Good evening, Mr. Phillips. Welcome back.
Economic development model for the power plant. You can't even consider a development unless you do an economic development model where you determine what the cost of that development is. ALERG knows what the cost is. They bought it for $20 million, plus they got 3.25 back when they sold it to the water. They know what the remediation costs. And they know they need 1,200 units. And they projected what that revenue is going to be, okay? They have that, and they have an idea of that, and they can't even get financing, okay? All right? Unless they have that model, okay? And they don't have financing at the moment. So when we talk about, oh, we gotta rush this, we gotta rush that, that's a bunch of bullshit, okay? We don't need to rush, okay? Once they get somebody, hey, they took their website down because of lack of transparency, because Mr. Zimmerman and I would go there. As far as transparency, you know, we don't even have the right to buy the submerged lease and the park. We can't put a beach there. We don't have a contractual right to put a beach because we didn't put it in the IDA and we didn't put it in the purchase and sale agreement. So as we sit here today, we don't even know if we can put a beach in, okay? And we talk about condition preceding, that should have been in there. I mean, I would have never drafted an agreement without that in there. Mr. Shamir, when we talk about we don't have an idea of cost, Mr. Shamir did an excellent presentation of the cap and the space and the expenses and that to maintain that. I mean, maybe it wasn't exact, but it was a pretty darn good estimate. So we have some idea of the cost. And we do a cost on the infrastructure. You're gonna need 4 lanes. You're gonna need 2 turning signals at probably 3 intersections. You're gonna have to have a light where those residents come out. The TIF, you know, we talk about a TIF, and you know, about Miss Gentry is worried about the cost. She's right. This parkland is not free. Read this. The parkland is not free. We're taking $30 million away from the schools to buy the parkland and the remediation costs. It's not free. Maybe free to the city, but you're robbing Peter to pay Paul. And what it is when we do a TIF is we give a corporate subsidy to a private enterprise. That's what it is. If we rezone it to 219 and we require them to put the 20 acres of parkland, then we don't have to buy that parkland. The school system doesn't have to lose $30 million. Now, economic development, you know, we don't have a plan. You know, what type of development does a city want? What type of businesses want to come here? And what type of businesses can come here? We're built out, almost. And we built out more residential probably than we should be. We only have town center. We only have the power plant. we have the stop area, and we got Pin Oak. That's it. We don't have any great land to bring in anything. And already with the town center, we had a nice comprehensive land use plan. And we just screwed it up because we put residential there rather than business. You know, business brings in more taxes than residential. Residential doesn't bring anything. House Bill 920 says if your values go up in the municipality, the millage goes down, and you don't collect any more for the schools. So we approved 173 acres, and we're not going to get any more tax revenues for the schools when we could have if we did according to the comprehensive land use plan. We need an overall development plan for the limited areas that we got. And we don't have one. It's a mistake. And we clearly need an infrastructure for the power plant. Like I said, 1,200 toilets. You don't know what type of pipe you're going to need to handle sewage for that many units in an area? There's no size of pipe there currently. We need to know that. We need what the costs are and the traffic. You got eminent domain. You got all those issues. And it's not difficult to take some time, 3 months, to figure it out and wait.
Thank you, Mr. Phillips. Mr. Zimmerman, welcome.
Thank you so much. William Zimmerman, beautiful Avon Lake. So let's talk about widening of Lake Road, because that's going to be the first issue, is we're going to have to widen the road in that area. So some of that acreage will be taken away to help widen the road. Now, will that come from the developer's acreage or the city's acreage on a purchase that I believe we shouldn't even be making? So I don't know which way that's going to go. And again, as I stated earlier in tonight's previous meeting, this is all about money that we don't even have. We don't even own the property yet. And we're still talking about what's going to happen to it. I go to the Lorain County Commissioners meeting, and they want to talk about some of this stuff. And we can't get to it. We don't own the land. We can't get to ALERG. Everybody knows that until you own the land, you can't make the rules. So I've suggested to get the Ohio Department of Natural Resources involved, because they're the ones who own the shoreline. And the potential with submerged land lease that they can put a park in there. We won't own it, the state will own it. So the question becomes, is that worth it? It messes up the entire deal. All of a sudden now we don't have TIF money coming in to buy that land because ODNR will own it. And I still think that's a safer venue than what we're trying to do now. I don't believe this is the way to go. I don't care how much money Todd Davis and Verdantis and all the other players they would make. They shouldn't make it. It's not about filling their pockets. Because as I've said many times, they're going to leave. They're going to leave this development. And the citizens of Avon Lake will be stuck trying to take care of it, figure it out, and they'll be laughing at the next project that they're working on. So we're trying to pass an income tax now. And this is just for roads. And this doesn't include Lake Road, because Lake Road's been redone recently and it looks very nice. It rolls very nice. No complaints. Property of the places that has those issues with their roads are in different places all across the city. So now it becomes a matter of how do we prioritize them? Which is the most important? And as Mr. Shamir has said, there's the plan. John has told me about it. We're at specific numbers in regards to what roads are rated, that we want to save some of those roads before they crumble even worse. All these things about the way we're going to prioritize the way that we spend the money. I still don't believe that that's the right answer. Yes, we need money. There's no doubt about it. But I don't think the citizens should have to ante up. Mr. Zuber, when he was in charge of the finance committee, he told us for years that this day was going to come. And now it's here. We were warned. I don't know if the administration did anything to try to solve it ahead of time, if the council had any foresight into looking into that. My problem is it doesn't appear so. Regardless, we are where we are. And at some point, we're going to have to find money. We talk about businesses coming here and economic development stuff. Well, where has that been for years? We should have been trying to recruit other businesses and stuff. I'm sure we have. Hasn't been fruitful. Nothing's been accomplished. Ford's even laying people off. So some of our biggest payrolls and stuff aren't there anymore. We're stuck. People don't want to come to Avon. How do you get 100-place employment for a company that wants to come here? So in closing, I just have difficult times right now. I believe that this whole thing can be solved at the power plant with ODNR. I really do. Because I've spoken to commissioners who've had those meetings, and I really think that's the way to go. We don't need to buy the land ourselves.
Thank you, Mr. Zimmerman. Anyone else wishing to come forward? Seeing none, I will turn this over to Public Safety and Health Committee Chair Kaz.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Council President. The first item that I have is the helmet law for e-bikes. In our packet tonight, we have ordinance number 26-22, which would be amending that code section 474.01, bicycles and electric bicycles. And the requirements of this change, or the specifics of this change, is that it would require all riders under the age of 18, whether they are on a Class 1, Class 2, or Class 3 electric bicycle, to wear a safety helmet while operating that as an operator or a passenger on that e-bike. This is an item that passed out of the Safety Committee back in February. I've been in contact with local Dr. Kenneth Remy, and he is in attendance tonight. And I asked him to please come in and share some of his expertise with regards to brain injuries and some of the dangers associated with some of the accidents that could occur with e-bikes and safety. So he is here tonight, and Doctor, if you would please come on up. And Mr. Council President, I would ask if it's all right with you, if he could have about 10 minutes to make a short presentation and entertain any questions from the members of council.
Yes, Dr. Remy.
Sure.
Come on up.
Okay.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm actually talking about something I do for a living, not about community activism and basketball games. So I am a critical care physician for both adults and kids. So not a common profession. There's been 17 of us in the history of medicine that have been trained in both dual specialties, and I work in trauma. I spent a number of years at Walter Reed Bethesda Naval taking care of bringing folks down range back to the United States on CCATs after the surge in the late 2000s. Have taken a lot of time in taking care of patients in the trauma ICU. And so this is well within my expertise, and even worked overnight last night in the Rainbow PICU, where we had sadly some head traumas. So an area that I certainly know a fair amount about, and happy to share at least some of the expertise related to this topic. So if we think about electric bicycles, so from 2022, we've now actually had more than 1.1 million electric bikes. Over 20,000 people are injured while riding these electric bikes annually, with approximately 3,000 individuals requiring hospitalization. It's mostly underreported. And we're seeing a huge increase. The rate of these increasing annually are more severe than their manual bicycle counterparts, and they occur with head injuries more frequently, with only about a third of injured patients reported to wear helmets. So why are they different? And I have a couple summary slides, and I'm going to go a little bit more in depth. So first and foremost, you guys were mentioning about Class 1 and Class 2 e-bikes, and so those go up to 20 miles an hour. Class 3 e-bikes go up to 28 miles per hour. The higher the speed, the higher the kinetic energy, the greater injury of risk. So what does that mean? So we'll go back to physics, or our engineers in the group here might know. Kinetic energy is going to equal 1/2 of mv squared, right? So that's mass. So the mass generally in most of these e-bikes is approximately about 100 kilos with a rider. So compared to, say, a regular bicycle, which may be 15 kilograms, these are up to 35 or 40 kilograms. So just by mass plus the rider, they're going to carry enough additional kinetic energy. And then when you take that miles per hour and go from 15 or 10 miles per hour, which is what a standard bicycle actually would ride at, up to 28 miles per hour, you're actually tripling and then actually 8xing it depending on the size of the rider. And that in part is why they're in part such a greater injury risk. And if you think about it, people sit about 1 meter above the ground. And so the only thing that's going to happen is they're going over the handlebars, their head hits the ground. It hits a pole, it hits a car, it hits a person. It actually will continue to remain in motion until it's stopped, right? We're talking about, obviously, laws of physics. And this is how you result in greater head trauma, more fractures, higher hospitalization rates, and obviously we've seen a lot more of these with children. So I'm a scientist, so I have to show you data. Otherwise, I feel like people just think I make things up, so I'll show you some actual data. So this was a paper that was published most recently in Surgery Open Science, a little bit challenging to see, but what you can see in panel A here is that steep climb is what happens now with e-bikes and numbers of injuries over the past 5 years. We are on a direct incline upwards as these have become more popular. And I thought this was quite interesting. This was just presented recently in the last 5 years at a major trauma society meeting. And what you see here directly from 2020 all the way up to 2023, almost 15,000 pediatric patients. These are 15,000 kids who have actually injuries related to e-bikes. 80% are males, 71% are adolescents between the ages of 13 to 18. These injuries are attributed to specifically the higher incidence of head, neck, or facial injuries and are directly related to the speed of the actual bicycle that these individuals were riding. And the majority of these patients did not wear a helmet. So we're seeing across the United States and worldwide even, dramatic increases of injury, increasing by over 500% over the past decade. And in children, we're seeing it rise more sharply. Compared to their adult counterparts, kids actually have a much larger head-to-body ratio, which even confers an even higher risk of kinetic injury problems. And so this is the most common injury that we would see typically on children that are on e-bikes operating at a very high speed. So why? Well, I mentioned a little bit about the kinetic injury, but this is, I think, what's probably one of the craziest things to think about. Just because the bike says it goes up to 28 miles an hour doesn't mean that the child can't figure a way to make it go faster. Let me say that again. Just because it goes at 28 miles per hour doesn't mean that the child, it's like on your school laptop that's supposed to be protected so you can't get on the internet. How many people have children at home, and they seem to find ways to get on every website under the sun, even though they're protected. And these kids are crafty and intelligent, and they can figure ways to make it go much faster, which means the numbers I gave you for kinetic injury for that velocity is even further compounded. And so this is why we're seeing in the last 2 years, e-bike injuries up by 1,800%. And so head injury is, of those, the most preventable injury. It's the brain is the organ most at risk. It's also the organ that I don't have a great cure to actually have it recover as easily as some of the other organs that we see in our body. It's one of the most traumatic injuries that you can see in the body because these individuals get concussions, skull fractures, intracranial hemorrhages, traumatic brain injury, many of which linger. They have an accident, they go home, their parents don't know that they were not riding their e-bike with or without a helmet. They don't know that this occurred until a week or two later they present with nausea, confusion, worsened school activities or performance in school, and they've got a massive head bleed. and they have a traumatic brain injury. This is not an uncommon scenario. And so children are more vulnerable because the brain's still developing, there's less risk per perception, and they have less experience controlling high-speed vehicles. Helmets. So believe it or not, helmets certified by the Consumer Product Safety Committee are intended for bicycle speeds 20 miles per hour. There's a problem, Houston, right? We've got a problem that they only go up to 20. And then when you look specifically at the Department of Transportation for certified helmets, those are recommended for speeds above 20 miles per hour. Which one do you think is more available readily to the public? The former. And they work. Believe it or not, this simple technology actually works. It reduces head injuries by 60 to 70%, severe brain injury by 65 to 80%, fatal injury by almost 65%. And these findings are consistent among a number of pediatric trauma studies, meta-analyses, and public health studies. And it's not just me standing in front of you. Lots of different organizations certainly all support children having helmet policies. American College of Surgeons, our Pediatric Trauma Society, World Health Organization, our Academy of Pediatrics, CDC. And I'm not going to go through these because you'll have my slides, but these are the recommendations when you take in aggregate all of the major organizations. And certainly, there's some key ones that you must know, that electric bicycles need to be clearly defined based on size and maximal obtainable speed. You should know what the bike is capable of. That's an important thing for your child's usage. Furthermore, we should have public and provided education on safe and appropriate electrical bicycle usage, including laws for use in each region. And then when electrical bicycle safety laws are implemented, we should have safeguards to make sure that enforcement is fair and equitable. So, e-bikes can reach 20 to 28 miles per hour if your child is less savvy and can't figure out how to make it go faster. Injury rates are increasing, and helmet use is the single most effective intervention. So knowing that it is, what's the barriers? Cost, awareness, access. Cost, awareness, access. The typical helmet cost is $25 to $60. Successful programs, and I would say successful programs that follow legislation should include helmet distribution programs if you want it to be successful. Finding ways to be equitable, to have vouchers for individuals to receive a helmet, hands down, is going to be the best way for implementation and dissemination to a public that's going to work, and community education. And so I would argue in a good way that this ordinance that's being discussed represents a very simple, evidence-based way for us to protect our children. It's what you guys are here for. It's what I'm here for. E-bikes are faster and more powerful than traditional bicycles, and all of the data clearly shows rising injuries nationwide. Helmets dramatically reduce head injury risk, especially for kids. And so if you pair that legislation, I keep saying, pair that legislation with access to helmets, I think that we could be a regional leader in youth safety. And I would say that I believe that helmets should be provided to keep our kids safe. So if you register your e-bike, you should be able to receive a helmet in return. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Doctor. I'll start down on my right. Mr. Kaz.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Remy. That was excellent, and I think it's also very sobering as well too. And I think it drives home what members of the committee and council expected to hear with regards to e-bikes, and especially youth riding them and the risk of serious injury. When you and I talked last week, we talked about the helmet distribution and access to that, and I do believe that is a very important piece to this whole thing. It is a major component. My personal thought is that we need to move forward with the third reading on this, and we can start to bring the second part of this up alongside it as well too. But I think that the sooner we get that on the books, I think the better. But it is your point is very well taken, and we'll look into all avenues, I think, to find the best way that we could get these helmets out to people that need them, that need access to them. Also, with regards, there's an educational component that I know that you had previously mentioned is very important, and we're going to be working with our digital media department. I talked to the chief of police last week, and he's going to be working with our school resource officers, and I think there was actually supposed to be some assemblies or discussions this week with regard to that to students and the school resource officers at Learwood and at Troy on this very issue. So that is in the works. as well too, is getting that information out. So the education component, the safety equipment, the law in place, and then the enforceability is the other one as well too. I won't speak to the enforceability. I don't know if the mayor wants to discuss that tonight, or if we want to bring the chief in for further discussion about that at a future meeting. But I think that all of these play different parts into getting this done. It's not just about just passing a piece of legislation and saying we did our part. There's a lot more still to do. Thank you, Dr. Remy.
Yes.
Can I
And
respond
Mr.
to one thing that he said? Is that fair or no?
Go ahead, yes.
So one thing I would say is these are exactly the opportunities. Most people may or may not know Case Western serves as the parent academic institution for the VA, which is the largest VA in the United States, University Hospitals, Cleveland Clinic, and Metro Health. I can tell you that those three institutions, because I know because I sit as the chair of Case for a major center, which includes all of those, this is the exact same thing that we should be partnering with our neighbor hospitals. Just like we do car seats, we should do that with our three major healthcare institutions. It doesn't have to all fall on the shoulders of the city. I think this is a great opportunity for those organizations. And frankly, that should be the flagship. We could be the flagship for the entire region and bringing that together and developing a larger Northeast Ohio program.
Hey, Mr. Cos, do you have a Public Safety Committee meeting on Wednesday?
We do.
Are you planning on discussing that again some more at that meeting, or?
We sure can.
Okay.
Sure.
And I would think that we should get the presentation that we now have up on the website as well. And maybe the police department can do something to get it put out in their Facebook posts and things, information about that. But I think we do have to do something to try and start figuring out how to fund such a thing as getting these helmets. All right, Ms. Gentry.
So I know we had talked about the potential of wanting to create a license, but that's not something that the city can do. I think it would be very beneficial perhaps if we could put together a class, and at the end of the class you get the helmet for free. So that there's a benefit for both.
Work with neighborhood businesses that want to see the kids safe. Ask them the opportunity to help co-sponsor such a program. They can also help.
Thank you. Anyone else on this end? Mrs. Goodwin.
Thank you. Well, I have to say thank you because head injuries and motor vehicles are close to my heart. My husband was in a life-threatening motorcycle accident going 25 miles an hour. The only thing that really saved his life was his helmet. And that was 25 miles an hour. So these are going faster than that. And for reference, he broke essentially every bone on the left side of his body. So, and he's a full-grown man. So, and 10 years later, he still struggles with a lot of those orthopedic issues and things, but he's here today because of a helmet. So this is a really important thing for me personally to see kids growing up with that kind of responsibility taken if they're using a motorized vehicle. But also I just wanted to say we have there's a new e-bike shop that opens tomorrow, specializing in e-bikes on Moore Road, I believe. And I think that, again, just to Ms. Gentry's point, that may be a really good opportunity to engage him and Marty too, I'm sure. I don't know that he does e-bikes, but helmets, I think he's definitely a proponent of. So I think those are both excellent opportunities. And I'm only saying that because I will not be there Wednesday night. So, sorry.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Reynolds.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. That was fantastic, really eye-opening. My only question about this proposal, will this include scooters also? Because that is another electric vehicle that is on the market that a lot of kids have.
Mr. Cos?
Scooters are not a part of this, what is being presented for third reading next week. You're right, that is a different item. We wanted to keep this separate to e-bikes due to the speeds. And I know some of the scooters can go faster as well too, but we wanted to keep this focused on e-bikes right now. That doesn't mean we can't come back to it. I think there's appetite to do that, but we wanted to move on this.
but I can still maybe lie to my daughter and say that it is the law that she wears a helmet.
Sure law. It's the law of the Reynolds household.
There we go. Okay, perfect.
All right, thank you very much. Yes, Mrs. Fenderbosh.
Thank you so much. I have a question directly with Mr. Cos. Mr. Cos, I was asked over the weekend because some residents saw passengers on e-bikes. And according to our ordinance here, helmets should be for the operator and the passenger. Does that mean that there are two seats on the e-bike? Or like this particular example that I was called on, I told them to call the police department. There was someone riding on the handbars. The second one that came by, they were ganged up on them, but there wasn't really a seat for them. What does this, do we define that at all?
Mr. Cos?
I can't speak to every type of e-bike, but a lot of the e-bikes do have room for a passenger seat.
Because it's long enough?
But, yeah, and that's why this language also mirrors some of the language at the state level and other municipalities with regards to passengers. That's not to say that, just as we did when we were kids and you're on a 10-speed bike or a dirt bike or whatever with a single seat, that you put somebody on the spokes that held on. So that stuff does happen. But there are e-bikes that can be utilized legally for two people, and that's why it says passenger as well too.
Very good.
And they would be required to wear a helmet as well.
And to follow on what Dr. Remy said, I did send you some funding sources that have been used in the state of Ohio. You're welcome.
Thank you, Mrs. Fenderbosh. Yes, Mayor.
Dr. Remy, thank you for coming in, as always, and providing this information. And I hope you don't mind if it's good with you. We'd like to clip out your presentation so we can put it out separately on our social media. That's where the parents are. I think that's where the message needs to go. So if we're good with that, we'll go ahead and do that. Thank you.
Anybody else? Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Very informing. All right.
Smith. Can we, Mr. Mayor, can we also put it out on Facebook? Oh,
Yeah,
I'm
that's
sorry,
what-
I thought you said
that's
on the
what I
website,
said.
I misunderstood.
Yeah.
Social media. Yep, thank you.
All right, Mr. Cos, item number 2.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Council President, and thank you again, Dr. Remy. Appreciate that. The next item we have is a new liquor license permit for D&T Revolution LLC, Sisson's Flowers and Gifts at 716 Avon Belden Road. This has been reviewed by the Chief of Police, and he had no objections. Therefore, I'd like to ask the Clerk of Council to have this as a motion for next week's council meeting, stating that the city is not requesting a hearing.
Thank you. Please do that. Again, that's for a permit of D&T Revolution. Looks like it's at Sisson's Flowers and Gifts at 716 Avon Belden Road. Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Cos? Okay, your third item.
Thank you. The third item that I have is a new liquor license permit for William Fine Sandwich Shop LLC at 140 Lear Road. Residents would know this location as what was the former ice cream stand over there on the corner down there at Lear Road. Again, this has been reviewed by the Chief of Police, and he had no objections to this. So I would like to ask that the Clerk of Council prepare a motion stating that the city does not have any objections to this and will not be requesting a hearing.
Yes, please do. Any questions? All right. That concludes that part of our collective committee meeting. Next, we have third readings. The third reading on 2617 is the low-speed vehicles, the e-bikes, or no, the low-speed vehicles, I'm sorry, that's the, not the, that's the golf carts, yes. I believe you're talking about that tomorrow night. I think that was on the agenda. I think Officer Tibbetts talked to me about that. He's planning on being there to discuss the golf carts. So if anyone has any additional information on that, please contact Mr. Cos or come to the Safety Committee on Wednesday at 6 o'clock?
6, right here.
Right here. Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Cos? Next, we have second readings. Ms. Gentry, you have the personal service agreement for the Enterprise Managed Technology Services. Any questions for Ms. Gentry on that? Anything you'd like to add?
Nope.
All right, next is second reading ordinance regarding the OpenGov Citizen Services. Ms. Gentry, any questions for Ms. Gentry on that ordinance? Set for second reading a week from tonight. Seeing none, next is the resolution accepting a grant of $69,000 from Northeast Ohio Public Energy Council, which is known as NOPEC. Anybody have any questions or comments for Ms. Gentry? All right, seeing none. We'll move on to ordinance 26-19. The mayor to execute the second amendment to the professional services reimbursement agreement with Avon Lake Environmental Development Group for the power plant redevelopment project. Mr. Shamir, anything that you'd add regarding that? Anybody have any questions? I know there was some discussion of potentially suspending the rules on that. Is there any inclination that
We talked about three readings and passage, immediate passage after the third reading.
Okay, I know there was some discussion and I wondered.
We haven't had any discussion. We can have that conversation. if you
Okay.
like.
Yes, Mayor.
Yeah, I'd like to recommend that we pass that on second reading. The third reading would be the middle of April. And again, we'd like to continue to have our professionals working, so a passage on second reading on the 23rd would be most beneficial.
Mr. Shamir, that's your piece of legislation.
If it's okay, I'll have a conversation with the mayor.
That's fine.
Yeah.
And you can let the clerk know that.
Sure.
Thank you. Any more questions on that? All right. The next is the ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute a purchase agreement for Lorraine County permanent parcel number. The number is irrelevant. It's for the property at 720 Moore Road. Utilities is buying that parcel. Unless anyone has any questions, I have nothing further to add to that. The Utilities needs it for a public purpose for their water transmission services. It also will provide us with an opportunity for some economic development. Seeing no questions, next is the ordinance amending the appropriations for the year. That was in front of the council last week. Our intent is to pass that as a suspension of the rules in the event that there will be some additional changes that will be needed to be done in the event Mr. Shamir's legislation goes forward as a suspension of the rules. Will you be able to make the arrangements to make sure that whatever changes you need, Ms. Crossy, can be done on that? All right, any questions on that? Seeing none. Last is, this is the application of bicycles and e-bikes that Mr. Kaz has. We've discussed that. Again, the presentation by Dr. Remy was very informative. Any more questions or comments on that piece of legislation? First readings. I do want to mention at this point that I did ask for a special meeting. The reason for the special meeting is that while the charter allows us to go to executive session as a general rule at any time we would like to, provided we have the number of votes, our council rules in particularly did not include following a collective committee meeting. I know that had been done in the past, but it does say that you can do it after a regular meeting, after a work session, which we have very few of now, and after a special meeting. So I thought that with that coming up at this time, that it would be appropriate to make that rule change in our codifieds so that we're in conformance. Our codifieds conform with what the charter actually allows us to do, so that there's not any questions. So that's why I called for the special meeting, because the executive session was not something listed in our particular rules following a collective committee meeting. Any questions on that? I hope I was clear on what I'm indicating there. We just went through all those rules and somehow that slipped by us. And that will be done as a suspension of the rules and emergency so that our rules conform with the charter and in the event that this happens to come up again in the near future. All right, any other first readings that need to be brought to our attention now? Okay, I'm not seeing any. With that, any miscellaneous business and announcements? Yes, Mrs. Crossy.
Thank you, Council President. I would like to just respond to a question that was asked at Wednesday's issue 13 tax discussion. And the question was that the city financial statements online for 2024 referred to percentages of income tax that were allocated to 4 different funds. And it did mention that this was done by ordinance, and I've been able to confirm that that is ordinance 24-34, which was the annual 2024 annual budget ordinance that was approved by council. So I just wanted to state that the financial statements do provide those percentages, and those percentages are again approved every year by council during the budget process. And this is also stated in the city charter section 886-01B2B that this is done during the annual budget process and to be allocated to the 4 funds, but they are not dedicated specific percentages. So each year, for the last several years, those budget or those income tax transfers can happen in different percentages. And I did explain on Wednesday and in previous presentations what has happened with the shift of those transfers from the income tax fund. And that is why we are proposing this additional 0.4% income tax, that it be dedicated specifically for capital. And that's what I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Somebody else, I can go last if somebody else had.
Well, I called on you. Go ahead.
All right. A bit of a sad news. I want to let everybody know that Anthony Tony Abram passed away last Friday at the age of 78. He was a longtime public servant here in Avon Lake, from council to other positions to Avon Lake Regional Water. His services, visitation, and funeral mass will be next Friday at Holy Spirit Catholic Church. I know many of us who've been around Avon Lake for a long time know Tony. A great guy, great public servant. So just wanted to make that announcement. Thank you.
Yes, Mrs. Goodwin.
I did have one thing I wanted to share. The Avon Lake Early Childhood PTA is having their Kids Closet resale this Saturday at the high school, and it's a really great opportunity for families to purchase gently used items for their young children. They sell pretty much anything you could think of for kids, I'd say about 7 and under. And especially going into summertime, if you need a new wardrobe for your kid, this is the place to do it. And the proceeds for this do go to the Avon Lake Early Childhood PTA, which sponsors a scholarship for kids graduating.
Okay. Thank you, Mrs. Goodwin. I do want to reiterate the mayor's comments about Mr. Abram. He was a longtime city servant, sat on council, was on the Board of Municipal Utilities, ran for the mayor's spot at least once. And so, yeah, our condolences to the family. Yes, Mr. Shamir.
Yes, I had a few residents that reached out to me, and I'd just like to bring their comments to the attention of specifically the Safety Committee. They had concerns about 5G antennas in the city, and they made a mention, why isn't the city doing any studies with respect to the impact of 5G on children, and specifically the 5G towers near schools? So that was something that was brought up. And then there was another item that was brought up. It was with respect to the TIF on 83. And I know that there's been discussions previously, but there was a lack of clarity in their mind on who would be impacted by the TIF and whether schools would be impacted, taxpayers would be impacted, and where those funds are being actually moved into and out of. So if you can clarify that, that would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
I'll look into it.
Thank you.
Mayor?
I can answer that. So the TIF for Walker and 83 is a residential TIF that affects Sand Ridge and Harbor Crest, the new higher density developments. The schools are made whole. There's no money being taken from the schools. So the incremental increase in the taxes will go to a fund. As that fund accumulates, we then can use that fund if we wanted to bond out for improvements at that intersection, and we could bond out from that, and our TIF proceeds would pay those bond payments. So it is strictly for public improvements in the area of Walker and 83, and the developer gets no funding from that whatsoever. I just want to make that clear. There's still the word out there that the developer got money out of that. First of all, those are private streets, and no money goes to them whatsoever.
Thank you for that clarification.
All right, thank you. Ms. Gentry?
So, I had a couple of people that asked questions on the income tax, or the income tax increase that, for the specific roads. We did publish a list of roads, and, much to our concern, residents have come back and said, but that rating is not right on my road. And so, Mayor, I know that there was, you and Mr. Liskovic have a plan. Would you talk about the plan to cross-reference visual versus the actual rating?
So I'll get started, and then if Mr. Liskovic wants to jump in, he certainly can. So we have PGM does a roadway analysis to provide us with a PCI score, pavement condition index score. And then it maps those, and we've provided the map on the website, so you can go on the map and look at it. The scores are referenced by colors. There's a index on there that tells you what each one means. And again, that's an average of the whole roadway. So you could have a bad section, you could have a good section, whatever. And what we then do is we take that list, and we're actually doing this at the end of the month, I believe, John, right? We'll be driving each one of those roadways and then putting eyes on it. So in addition to the score that is provided, we then go out and do direct observation of those to see if they match up. We are already aware of one street where the rating did not match what we feel the condition of that roadway is, such to the extent that we've already actually received construction estimates to completely redo that street. That street is Surrey. So I've had a couple residents reach out, and they're concerned, and I understand their concerns because it's sold as fair when in actuality it's not. Now, is there another street out there like that? There could be, but for the most part, we feel that's the ratings are fairly accurate, and there are issues with one or two that may not be, but we're going to find that out when we go do direct observations. I hope does that answer your question?
Yes, yeah, I just wanted clarification for the public, just because we've got several questions.
I'm just going to add just two more little bits to that, or maybe one. In addition to the mayor's explanation too, so we also look at work history on a segment too. So and again with the reference to Surrey, I can say since in the 2 years I've been here, we've probably been out there more times than we want to be, fixing sections that have failed and stuff like that, and those tick higher than some of the other streets where we may only be there once or twice in the season. That one is definitely taken more of our time to address. So that's also factored into the final decision on what's getting programmed for different types of work.
All right, thank you. Ms. Gentry had her hand up first. Or no, Ms. Fenderbosh did, I'm sorry.
I was going to say exactly what John said. Thank you, John.
Sorry, Mrs. Goodwin.
Thank you.
Thank you. I just wanted to, because I was a really big proponent of the map and the colors. And I just want to say that I think you did an excellent job, Mayor, of pointing out the fact that it is both maintenance and that the rebuild and recovery will be, that will come in the appropriate due time, and that this is a project that is building roads to last, not just fixing what's failed. And I just, because I was hard pressed on the map thing and very vocal about it, I just wanted to say that you didn't, I felt that you did an excellent job explaining
Thank you.
what the map was supposed to provide.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right. Seeing none, then I will conclude the collective committee meeting. Next is the special meeting. I will call the special meeting to order. It's directly following the collective committee meeting. And Mr. Kaz, if you would please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I would ask the clerk, Mrs. Rossmarin, to call the roll, please.
Mrs. Fenderbosh?
Here.
Ms. Gentry?
Here.
Mrs. Goodwin?
Here.
Mr. Cos?
Here.
Mr. Reynolds?
Here.
Mr. Shamir?
Here.
Mr. Smith?
Here.
Mayor Spetzel?
Here.
Law Director Ebert?
Here.
Finance Director Crossy?
Here.
Public Works Director Liskovic?
Here.
All right, I would remind everyone that when you have a special meeting, only the items listed on the agenda are available. Are there any changes or corrections to the legislation, to the meeting? Seeing none, I would ask the clerk to read by title only, ordinance number 26-30.
An ordinance amending Code of Ordinances, Section 220.01E1, and declaring an emergency.
Thank you. I move for the suspension of the council rules requiring 3 readings. Please call the roll.
Mrs. Fenderbosh?
Yes.
Ms. Gentry?
Yes.
Mrs. Goodwin?
Yes.
Mr. Cos?
Yes.
Mr. Reynolds?
Yes.
Mr. Shamir?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes, the suspension has passed. In discussion, I did discuss this at the end of the collective committee meeting. I would again reiterate that the purpose of this is to make a correction to section 220.01E1, where the addition of collective committee meeting is being added, which was overlooked during our recent overhaul of section 220. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, if the clerk would read the, would call the roll, please.
Mrs. Fender,
Point of order, you have to say I move in passage of.
I move for passage of ordinance number 26-30. Thank you. Mrs. Rosemary, please call the roll.
Mrs. Fenderbosh?
Yes.
Ms. Gentry?
Yes.
Mrs. Goodwin?
Yes.
Mr. Cos?
Yes.
Mr. Reynolds?
Yes.
Mr. Shamir?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes, thank you very much. That has passed. Now I would call on Mr. Cos, please.
Thank you. I move that in compliance with the Ohio Revised Code Sections 121.22G2, council will adjourn to executive session to consider the purchase or sale of property.
Thank you. Discussion. Mr. Ebert, if you would let us know who is in the executive session.
Yeah, obviously, City Council, Mayor Spetzel, myself, Ted Esborn, Ms. Crossy, Todd Davis, Jordan Burns, Majid Malouf, Steve Gross, I think, is going to be on the Zoom, and Jim Zemek, who's here.
Thank you. Any further? Please call the roll.
Mrs. Fenderbosh?
Yes.
Ms. Gentry?
Yes.
Mrs. Goodwin?
Yes.
Mr. Cos?
Yes.
Mr. Reynolds?
Yes.
Mr. Shamir?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes. All right, we'll move to executive session.